The September 12th, 2023 Committee on Ways and Means is now called to order. Let's take a moment of silence, please. Amen. Do I hear a motion for the August 15th, 2020? Moved and properly seconded. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Bids and purchases,
Move for approval.
moved and properly second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. The ayes have it. Mayor Tecklenburg.
Mr. Chairman, I'll just let you know, given that this first item was on the bids and purchases regarding the water plan, we did ask for a report on the water plan, which we will receive during city council meeting.
Okay. That was a 200 and something thousand for the adding of, yeah. Okay. Any more questions regarding bids and purchases? If not, let's move to the fire department. Approval of the donation. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. The ayes have it. Budget and finance, revenue and collections, approval of the First Amendment.
Move for approval.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye. The ayes have it. Parks, approval of contract. Do I hear a second? Second. Councilmember Parker, second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Item 7. Do I hear a second? Any discussion? All in favor say aye. The ayes have it. Item 8. Moved and properly seconded. Any discussion on item 8? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. The ayes have it. Item 9. Moved and properly second. Any discussion on stormwater management? If not, all in favor say aye. The ayes have it. Item 10. Moved and properly seconded. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. The ayes have it. Item 11.
Second.
Moved and properly second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Item 12.
Second.
Moved and properly seconded. Any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye. Item 13. Moved and properly second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
The
Nay.
ayes. 1 nay. Councilmember Parker. Item 14, I will call on Chairman Appel.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The City of Charleston Real Estate Committee met yesterday. First item up on the agenda was in connection with 838 Morrison Drive. This property is subject to our Upper Peninsula District zoning ordinance, which allows for certain density and other bonuses if the developer incorporates renewable energy and mixed or in workforce housing components into the project. The particular development on offer here is proposing solar panels to the tune of 12 kilowatts and 19 workforce housing units. And if that wasn't enough, they're building the sidewalk across the street. We're helping to pay for it with TIF dollars, but they're running point on the actual construction, which is freeing up our staff to do other things. And there's also a public park that's being proposed as part of this project towards the rear. And in order to effectuate that, the mayor has to accept on behalf of the city certain deed restrictions to hold the developer's feet to the fire on these commitments. And that was approved unanimously. The next item up on the agenda involved.
One question.
Yes, sir.
I did notice when I was reading the whereases in the agreement that there was a clause that renewable energy would continue throughout the life of the project, but I did not detect similar language for the affordability. Did I miss something?
I have no idea. Maybe we can get some
It might have been a catch-all in the beginning, but
Oh, yeah.
Good afternoon. The affordability component is for 30 years.
so it is for 30 years,
Yes.
not the life of the project.
That's right.
Is there any reason that we negotiated 30? And I know it's a PUD and all that. They don't have to do it, but is there any reason why we stopped at 30 and not try to go for the life of the project? Is it a PUD?
I think it's the Upper Peninsula UP zoning.
That's provided directly within the Upper Peninsula zoning
So
section.
the 30, okay.
Yep.
That's in our rule. Okay. Councilmember Parker?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. What is the height density incentive? Like how many additional stories
Who we get for the bonus?
will they be receiving
Mr.
per
Chairman?
this agreement? Whose district is this, by the way?
Mitchell, Councilmember Mitchell.
So, Mr. Chairman, through you, so council member, the height can vary anything from 5 to 12 stories in the UP district, depending on what performance criteria that the developer chooses to meet. This is for existing development, so this is to create the deed restrictions, finalizing that construction. So they performed on these. The heights vary for those buildings. I think they've gotten the office building. I'll be honest, I don't know the exact height, but they're the existing building, so they're the heights that they have. But under UP, they can go from they can have an additional 5 to 12 stories, not an additional 12. They can go from 5 to 12 stories in additional height, depending on which performance criteria they meet and how many points they gather.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
One last question. I did notice, I think it was, there would also be homeownership opportunities, affordable homeownership opportunities in this project. And I think they cited something like 250,000 per unit or something. Will those be available to 80% and below?
I believe everything on this project is rental units, they're apartments. I don't think there's any condo.
Okay.
So that we'd have to, if there was something in there, we'll have to look at that, but I
Would
believe
you,
this was all apartment rental housing.
okay, maybe I read it wrong, but
Number
it
12 had some townhouses.
townhouses
250.
for 250,
That was a different development.
totally different. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman.
Moving along. Next item up on the agenda was 1575 Folly Road. This is the brick house property headed out to Folly, if you're familiar with it. And this was a request for the city to accept maintenance of a multi-use path on this property, which is actually in the county, not in the city, but as part of our procedures with Folly Road. The city takes maintenance responsibility, and that's actually baked into the county's code, if you can believe that. So we unanimously approved acceptance of that easement. Then we had 12 residential annexations. Those were all unanimously approved. Then we had 2 executive session items. The first had to do with Bridgeview Apartments. We came out of executive session and voted to direct legal counsel to proceed with the settlement discussions that have been taking place. And then the final executive session item involved 89 America Street. This was an item that was added to the agenda due to exigent circumstances, namely a trial over the disposition of this matter in federal court, bankruptcy court. This October, we received some legal advice, no action was taken, and that concludes my report. And I ask that it be offered and accepted.
Moved in properly seconded. Any discussion? Councilmember Waring.
First, I want to thank the chairman of the Real Estate Committee meeting, and certainly the mayor and members of the Real Estate Committee for adding the 89 America Street to the agenda. It is one of the most egregious ongoing examples of gentrification on a piece of property that I am now 67 years old. We're 67, that we've seen in our lifetime. The city doesn't have a actual program in place to help with that. Can we create a program? with some of the skill sets that we have on our real estate committee, with the experience of the mayor, council, and legal staff, it may be a possibility that with some of the allies of the city, faithful givers to help create, or maintain affordable housing. There's a possibility. It's not over with yet, is what I'm saying. So I look forward to working with the mayor, legal counsel, the chairman of real estate committee, and all colleagues on council to see what we can do to prevent that, and potentially get this house and have it in the affordability stock of the city of Charleston for the next 90 to 99 years to come. So it's not over with. It's disheartening to see that, you know, one human being would take advantage of another that way. But now that we know something about it, we'll do something about it. Some of you all may have seen in the newspaper recently and on the news, national news, about a 93-year-old lady down in Hilton Head that was being taken advantage by a developer group. And certainly better people of Christian heart came to aid. I feel if this situation was known about, this problem could be solved. So I thank everybody, Ms. Shaw Johnson and her team, our legal team, again, chairman of real estate and members of the real estate committee, because everybody brought the best brain power of the mayor to see, hey, this is wrong, something could be done about it. But I look forward to see what we can do going forward, because every program that we had, somebody had an idea that created it. Maybe we can do something out of the box thinking on this one to help save
I mean,
parcel property on the east side. Thank you.
I mean, it's definitely predatory in nature. There's no question.
Well, I'll make sure that the remainder of council get the backdrop on this, because I think about half council members know about it and the other half don't. But I'll make sure they get the information on that. And I'm sure Julia would chime in, Ms. Copeland would chime in on that where appropriate. But anyway, thanks a lot.
Councilmember Shea.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And after we came out of that meeting yesterday, I was somewhat disappointed that we did go into executive session, because I was hoping that we all could have aired that publicly as to what we did learn. Fortunately, most of the information that was presented to us is a public record, and we can deal with it in that regard. And I'm looking at Councilmember Mitchell, because this is in his district, but I think maybe what you said, Councilmember Waring, is that perhaps this could go into the Community Development Committee for further, I hate to say investigation, but maybe further review, because this is just one of those very rare instances of pure greed coming into play. And I know our hands are tied as to what we can and cannot do as a city on doing this, but this certainly is an example of, you used the word predatory. I think the word egregious was bounced around yesterday. Greed, whatever adjective you want to add to this. But our role as a government and our role as a city in addressing that, maybe our hands are tied to some extent, but we should be able to intervene to some level to address this and prevent this. This is, hate to say it this way, this is like old school type business that we had experienced decades ago, and we thought that kind of business was long gone and way behind us, but obviously it is not. And taking advantage of people of that nature is just, I don't know, I'm not sure what the word is, quite frankly.
And Councilmember, I don't think it's as rare as you think it is
Yeah.
either. It really isn't.
Yeah.
I mean, that's going on in communities all throughout, not just this city, but
Yeah.
this country. That's how,
Well, it was a splash of cold water on our face, Jesse.
yes.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Mayor.
So I was going to speak to the other item
Yes.
on executive session for clarity. Councilmember Appel, did you report out that the committee recommended approval of the agreement, the settlement agreement with Bridgefield?
Yes.
Correct.
we did.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, so I did want to share, we had it on the agenda for later in city council for an executive session. I think Ms. Copeland has advised most everybody she could reach about this matter. And if there are any questions, we'd just soon deal with it now and approve it if council's willing. So we can avoid those.
Move to approve the
Another-
settlement.
Second.
Yeah.
I thought we did that, but go ahead.
As part of the report. I
Yeah,
just want to make
yeah.
sure that
Moved in-
that was clear, that it was part of the report to approve. And that just give the opportunity in case anybody had any question about it.
Moved and properly second, with regard to, the item. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Is there anything else to come before this committee? Yes, yes.
Just very briefly, Mr. Chairman, we did have an audit committee meeting today. It was excellent. I just wanted to really just very briefly touch on item number 13, which we've been working on for a decade or more. So many people have had a hand in moving it forward. One person, you see this comes out of Parks. I see Mr. Kronsberg is sitting here today. He's really worked incredibly hard to get us to a place where we are set up to succeed on that project finally. We're not quite there yet, but I just wanted to recognize Mr. Kronsberg and all his hard work, and we're close, and this resolution is going to help a bunch. So thank you.
Okay. Mr. Mayor?
So if I may, as often we approve these Ways and Means Committee items, and sometimes I like to offer just a little bit of explanation. On number 4 with the fire department, the donation of that decommissioned pumper is to St. John's High School. And I just wanted to share with council that that's very intentional because we're trying to recruit from students at high school to become firefighters. And so that's a very intentional kind of thing. I did want to share, but Councilmember Appel pointed out that the Morrison Yard folks are building that sidewalk for us across the street, albeit with our funding, but they're taking the load of managing and getting it done. The $425,000 for the street tree inventory, speaking of Mr. Kronsberg, is something that we've been wanting to do, I think, probably for decades, to really be able to better plan our tree service that's needed in the city, and also where future plantings can occur. The repairs for the various surfaces at parks is certainly a good thing. But I got a note at number 9, you know, the closing out of phase 4 of the Spring Fishburne Drainage Project, in my view, is a milestone. It's a big milestone. And the new council members who weren't with us, what was it, 4 or 5 years ago, when we had to readjust our budget for this phase of the project to only be to be basically within the project budget is amazing. And I'm told, I mean, we had the contract amount, but the project budget is actually almost $4 million more than what ended up getting spent on this phase. So that extra, it's about 3.7 million, I'm told, will transfer over to phase 5, which we will be bringing to council, I think in about 30 to 60 days, a contract for that. And then lastly, number 12, I just wanted to point out, this is for 20 workforce townhomes, Mr. Chairman, that do have the opportunity for home ownership. And these are in the Cainhoy Peninsula. I know we do a lot of our quote affordable attainable housing product, either on the peninsula, maybe more recently West Ashley, but we haven't done a lot out on the Cainhoy Peninsula. And this in fact is in that part of the city. So I just thought I'd point that out as well.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I am going to go back to look at the Morrison Yard piece, because I do think I saw something at $230,000 for homeownership opportunities, but I'll check it out.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Is there anything else to come before this committee? If not, this meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.